welcome back to the NWA 1984 project. I'm your host, Juan, Cena, and with me, as always, is Matt Riley. How you doing tonight, Matt?
Better than Big Cass.
Oh, too soon.
He's gonna be fine. I know right now it's a hot topic, but like a lot of these guys, him and Enzo, they're smart. They reunite and they do their shit together again.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about that in a little bit. On this episode, it's going to be live from the Greensboro Coliseum. Main event of this show will be Bruiser Brody taking on Ivan Koloff for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. In addition, we will see Ric Flair taking on Wahoo McDaniel for the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. So that should be a fantastic show. But I think the first thing we want to talk about here is that, due to lead times on episodes, sometimes things change pretty rapidly. So on the day we released the last episode, we found out that the WWE has blocked Ring of Honor from Madison Square Garden.
Assholes.
I was very saddened to hear that personally. Hopefully they can get the situation resolved. I often wonder myself, it goes into a couple of larger points that I try to make on Twitter and no one wants to listen to me. So I want to shoot the shit here. A couple things are at play here. Number one, I think it has to do a lot with All In. It has to do a lot with Sinclair Broadcasting in general. Now, Sinclair Broadcasting, the owners of Ring of Honor, are technically a much larger company than WWE, much like Turner back in the day, but I think that's where the comparisons stop. The Turner organizations were very inept at running WCW during just about their entire tenure, minus the 83 weeks that WCW was winning the Monday Night War. But overall, their running of WCW was really, really shitty. Sinclair, on the other hand, they've been smart up to this point where they're trying to grow organically and they're trying to build it up slowly, right? So they didn't invest a ton of money in right away, which I guess was smart. And they're trying to really build their audience, and they're trying to get Ring of Honor to the torn markets where their television is strong. Again, this is a TV company. They own a ton of channels all over the United States. And the big thing that's coming to fruition is the deal they are making to buy the Tribune Media Corporation. So what Tribune owns is WGN in Chicago, a bunch of other stations, WPIX in New York. Once this deal goes through, which it should go through, they're just getting through all the legal loopholes at this point. That's going to be a really big deal for their national presence. So they're going to be expanding relatively quickly. And I think we'll all get to know, for good or for bad, about Sinclair Broadcasting and some of the weird things they do. But I think a couple of things are at play here. Now, I think All In, for example, now they recently just put out a release that they'll be filming it and we'll be able to watch it. And we're not sure if it's going to be a pay-per-view, if it's going to be streaming or what have you. But I think the original plan was to have this on TV. I think the original plan is that they were going to put this on WGN in Chicago, because it's a national station. But I think since it's taking so long for them to acquire that station, that plan changed, and that's why they're announcing this so late. So I think originally, and I'm willing to wager, because don't forget that, yes, this is a elite Bullet Club. Cody Rhodes is running this, but again, it's being co-promoted essentially by Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I think the original plan for that is to see if they're really going to get WGN in Chicago, which again, it's a superstation essentially, and it goes throughout the entire United States, and have this be a primetime special for them as like one of their first things that they're going to put on that channel once they purchased it. So I think that was their plan initially, but again, with the legal process taking so long, I'm pretty sure they had to scrap that deal unless they don't come to fruition really, really fast in the next 2 months or what have you. And I think one of the reasons that Ring of Honor wanted to run Madison Square Garden so badly, to be honest, it's a good possibility that they were not going to sell out that show. And running the Garden is so expensive they would have lost money there. So the only thing that makes sense for them to run the Garden like that is the fact that the potential Ring of Honor being on WPIX in New York, which is historically a big station here in New York. Right now, they're the home of the New York Yankees, along with the S Network. It's a really big, strong television channel here in New York. It's here under your kind of your network broadcast television. Like, it's a next channel. It's your local TV, but it's pretty large. And I think they wanted for them to run Madison Square Garden, to be able to promote it on WPIX, they probably would have got a large number of fans come in for that show. Again, it would have been WrestleMania weekend as well. I don't know if they would be able to sell it out, but it could come pretty close. And to have the ability to air that live on WPIX as a primetime special, it's something that would have been very, very attractive for them to do. But now that they're getting blocked, that's going to cause a bunch of problems. Now, Sinclair Broadcasting in general, I wonder if Vince McMahon just woke up a sleeping giant. Because they have so much money. And I'm assuming they have better attorneys than those over at Turner, because even the Turner attorneys were pretty shit. They could fight this in court. They could beat them in court. Knowing Sinclair's history, there could be a possibility that they could be bashing the WWE on their news programs throughout the country if they really get pissed off. Now, a lot of people are saying, why would Sinclair even give a shit? Ring of Honor is still their property, right? They own it, right? It's their IP. And anyone that's going to kind of get in the way of their business, they're not going to be fucking happy about it. And if it, me personally, now I know CEOs personally. I've been out to dinner with CEOs. Those people are just different people, right? If you ever met a president of a company or a CEO of a company, their mind works completely different than, say, you or me. And these people have egos. And if they think someone's fucking with them, they will fuck with them right back. So I'm curious to see if Sinclair is going to do anything in the future. Not for nothing, Sinclair does own a lot of those Fox stations that the WWE just made deals to go on. And they have the right to preempt shows on those stations. So can we see a scenario where in parts of the country, Sinclair preempts SmackDown? For no reason, just to fuck with them? Possibly. That's some shit. That is some shit. Now, it all depends if they want to do it or not. And that remains to be seen. But in all honesty, if I was a WWE right now, I really wouldn't want to fuck with these people, especially knowing and understanding their history. I don't know if this was a good move on the WWE's part. I feel they just let them run it. Fuck it, you're not going to run that building that much anymore anyway. I understand it's the home of the WWE. But do you really want to get into a war with these people right now? Especially when, it's not like the Monday Night Wars. This is a publicly traded company. You can't do some of the shit that you used to be able to do. There's more oversight. You have to explain yourself more. You have to open up the books. So it's like, it's a dicey proposition on their part. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. This has always been Vince's way. Vince has always fucked with people. Vince is always... he claims that he's in it for the competition, but he doesn't give people an opportunity to compete. He just squashes them.
I think the thing they're missing here is that when there's competition, you have to raise your game. Yeah. And I think it's hurt their business a lot that they didn't have anybody pushing them, because they could just put out the same old shit, and we've seen it. Like now they've got a monopoly on the best talent in the game. Yeah. They have a good engine. Although I will say this, oftentimes we talk about NXT being so, amazing on TV, and friend of the show, Jamie, went to an NXT house show and said the matches were almost move for move what he saw at NXT TakeOver, except for the finish.
Really?
Yeah, he said it was almost every match had the exact same moves. He said the tag match was exactly what he saw. So you got to keep in mind, these guys get a chance to perfect it for the TV show, and it looks fantastic. So it's a thing. Okay, they made comments about well, certain guys don't wrestle all the time. How is it? Blah blah. Versus limited schedule. I do think that if they had a show they had to be held against as far as competition wise, it would help them.
I agree. I just don't think Vince wants the competition. I don't think he wants. I think he's too old. He don't want to fight no more. He wants to coast. He's essentially retired. He's like, fuck it, I'm retired. You know what I mean? Right. I don't think. I said it before. I said it again. He's out of touch. He's been out of touch since the '80s, and we're all kind of hoping that Triple H gets more and more influence in the company in terms of the wrestling product, so we can see a better wrestling product. But we're watching it, and it's like, there's enough good stuff going on right now that makes me not hate it completely, but it's still overall not a great product, and it sucks. It sucks to even think about it that way. It's just there's so many good guys in the roster, and And we're seeing American Ninja Warrior stuff, and and it's ridiculous. And we're seeing
Right.
the whole. I'm glad. I'm not glad. I'm not happy that Sami Zayn got injured. I'm just glad he's out of that feud with fucking Bobby Lashley, because that shit was the drizzling shits.
Yeah, I mean that 2 rotator cuffs. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude.
That's tough, man.
He's gonna be out at least a year, so.
And the thing is, honestly, this goes back to my whole thing about giving guys time off to heal, because when they come back fresh and people are like, oh yeah, because Sami Zayn, honestly, I was off his fan boat for a long time. I think every time I see him, I think he's Seth Rogen's twin. You know, it's like,
I mean, he's been an amazing heel. Since they turned him, he's been amazing. Playing off of Kevin Owens, their real life friends, the whole nine, that's been great. Even the stuff with Shane was fantastic, but his babyface run early left a lot to be desired. Although he had won the best matches I ever saw with Nakamura at NXT. That shit was fucking awesome. So he can go. It's just that they don't. It's just, I don't know. It's all creative. It's all creative. Yeah. It's just, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. They don't know what they're doing. That's clear. So it's like it's hogwash, it's shenanigans, it's tomfoolery, all wrapped into one. And it's not a fun product to watch. I'd much rather just watch NXT and some New Japan stuff. And I'm not a big fan of Ring of Honor currently, their current product right now, just because I think their roster is thin. But for me personally, right now, what am I watching? I'm watching NXT. I'm watching New Japan. I'm watching MLW. I'm watching a sort of different indies that are available. That's what I'm watching right now. And I'm enjoying that along with the old school wrestling that I watch. So, that's enough for me right now. But I like so many guys in their roster, the WWE's roster currently, is like, I want to see AJ Styles wrestle because I like AJ Styles. I love Samoa Joe. I like Seth Rollins. There's so many good guys in their roster. It's just like, I just watch the matches. I mean, at this point, it's like I don't give a fuck about the storylines because they don't make no sense anyway. I just watch the matches. It's like, AJ's fighting somebody? All right, I want to see that. Everything else is like, oh, great, another fucking Roman Reigns Jinder Mahal match? Fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
I just think that they're missing the boat on money with just full turning Roman Reigns heel and going. It's one of those things that if they went full in on Roman Reigns legit heel type promos, everything else, it'd be so much money. And I just think they're doing themselves a disservice because they're playing this game of no, he's going to be a good guy. No, just give the fans what they want. I think it'll help him tremendously to be the bad guy.
Yeah, I would have him obliterate the entire roster. Grab a chair and start going to town on everybody.
I still think he can turn on Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And play the whole game of, we were the same team. You guys cheer for him, you boo me.
Yeah.
Look at all I've done.
Like, you can get some heat on this boy. I mean, you can definitely get some heat on him, but it's like, when do we move on to Braun Strowman? Because if Braun Strowman, like, he just took Money in the Bank, right? Yep. And if you're not gonna, this is when you put the belt on him. He has to beat Brock.
Yeah.
He has to beat him. Because if he loses to Brock, then his push was worthless.
Right.
I would put the belt on him right now. Fuck it. Do it. Change his gear, for fuck's sake. I hate his gear. His gear I hate. I think it's fucking awful.
Oh, Roman Reigns gear?
No, Braun Strowman's gear. Roman Reigns should change his gear, too. He's the only one in the Shield that still looks like he's still in the Shield.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm a gear mark, personally, so it's like...
No, I agree. It would be good to have him change it up, and I think the same thing with Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose should come back with a new look, because that whole, backyard wrestler look just doesn't cut it.
Like, for me, Braun Strowman, like, he looks so... You ever see him in regular clothes? He looks twice as big in regular clothes. Like, you get a full understanding of how fucking big he is. And it's ridiculous. He's fucking huge. He should be the guy from fucking Bloodsport or Revenge of the Nerds. He looks just like him.
Yes.
It's fucking...
Ogre.
It's fucking awesome. Nerds. It's fucking awesome. All right, so next up we have Wrestler Spotlight. And first off, we're going to talk about one of our favorites, the Enforcer, Arn Anderson.
Last but not least, I don't want to say I told you so. I don't want to blow our own horn, but toot, toot. We are still recipients and owners of all the trophies. We make it happen in professional wrestling. Tell them, champ.
Matt, what are your thoughts on Arn Anderson?
Arn Anderson was one of my favorite promos before everyone liked him. Like when I was coming up in training, I would study his nuances because what Arn always did a good job with was telling the story and moving things along.
When I look at Ric Flair's knee about 2 minutes ago, the size of a softball, it made me want to puke. Now, Luger, you want to talk about mob mentality? What I just witnessed right there was nothing more than an old-fashioned lynching. Well, gentlemen, when I look at you now, I'm staring at 3 dead men. You have came into the camp of the Horsemen, bold, brash, and attacked not only the world heavyweight champion, but you've attacked my inner soul, my family. How that's called, Tully. He's on vacation in Hawaii. He left. He's on the nearest plane he can charter. What you've done, you want to talk about dream matches. You got the dream match anytime, anywhere. We can get hold of Sting, Luger, Barry Windham. I don't care if it's an alley. You look in my eyes, you talk about fire. Everybody says, why do they call you the enforcer? Well, henceforth, you're going to see that this fire in my eyes comes from a criminal mind. At this point in time, I'm taking the law out of my hands. I'm taking the law of the NWA out of my hands. What I'm going to do personally, along with Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, and James J. Dillon, is simply this. You want to break a leg? We'll break a leg. You want to break a neck? We'll break a neck. But I can assure you of one thing. When you hit his home and you hit the night, Sting, your career is not only on the rocks, it's over.
You know, like I always liked how the Horsemen acknowledged the recent like house shows. You know, we went down to Biloxi, we kicked your asses. We went down to Memphis, we kicked your ass. You know, like, and Arn was just phenomenal. He was a great worker. I felt bad because I felt he often became the job guy for a lot of the Horseman stuff. But you know, he just did really outstanding performances. And I think, you know, it's one of those things like as time has gone by, people have become more and more aware of how much his work was top notch. Yeah. You know.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, with us now, the World Television Champion, Arn Anderson.
Garbage, David Crockett. I'm getting sick and tired of having to hear garbage like this. Ric Flair is the World Heavyweight Champion. That's all needs to be said. And this punk kid, Ricky Morton, is overstepping his boundaries. A wise man knows his limitations. I don't know if you qualify as even being a man, Morton, but my friend, you've got involved with the Four Horsemen. You jumped in bed with the big dogs. You asked Magnum TA when we were scrubbing his face in that carpet how it felt to be involved. You asked Dusty Rhodes when we broke his leg how it felt to be involved. You asked Sam Houston when we broke his arm how it felt to be involved with the Four Horsemen. Now there's punk kid Ricky Morton wants to jump in my family on the World Heavyweight Champion. My friend, you're on a one-way road of demise. You're on the hit list of the Four Horsemen, period. You see, David Crockett? That's twice now. That's twice that punk has hit me when my back has been turned. And then all his friends run down to the ring and pull me off him. Next time, Morton, Double A won't be far away, brother. Tully Blanchard won't be far away. And they'll have to pull me off you with an erector set. You understand? You're not Ric Flair. You don't slap me. You don't tear off my shirt, and you don't try and embarrass 10 years of heritage and legend in the greatest sport in the world. You're talking about slapping the world champion. It doesn't happen. You got to pay your dues. And Martin, if God is my witness, I don't care where it is. I'm promising you and nobody else that every little teeny bopper in her traded brow is going to be crying all the way home. Because I'm going to beat you to the point where nobody even recognizes you. Double A, Dusty Rhodes. Ha! Ha! Dusty Rhodes, you got your 30-day notice. You got 30 days. Pack up and leave. Because Double A and Ric Flair are taking you and Morton. Woo! Out of the picture, Daddy. Woo! Nobody gives me 30-day notice, not even my landlord.
You know, in terms of this Bell the Bell, he's probably one of the best of all time. Like, everything he did looked good. Like his timing was impeccable. He made very few mistakes. Facials was good. I mean, feeding for the hot tag and feeding for the comeback, he was amazing. He took amazing bumps. His psychology was on point. The way he would work a body part, it was completely fantastic and awesome. So his work is fucking top notch, and then his promos on top of that, fucking amazing.
We are back at ringside. As we said, wanted to get a word with Ole Anderson and also, Arn Anderson.
Get a word with Double A, Daddy.
Double A, Arn Anderson, one of the stars of the NWA.
I am exploding with pride at this particular moment. Ole Anderson has showed why he's an Anderson. He has come to the top of the heap, right where he belongs. Brother, this is a rekindling of a dynasty. You understand what I'm saying? When I tell you an inchworm can pull a freight train, you hook it up. And this is the rekindling of a dynasty. The only difference is, Jack, the stars are not Alexis and Blake Carrington. The stars are Ole Anderson and Double A, Jack.
I listen to Dusty Rhodes. I used to listen to him before, and I've listened to a lot of people. And the one thing that you've got to understand, we're talking about blood. We're talking about family. When I see this chance for the Anderson brothers again, there's no way that I'm going to pass it up. Thunderbolt, I told you, I gave you peace. I respected you. I gave you time. You made a mistake. Dusty, Tommy Rich, all of you, be look out, because here comes the wrecking crew.
Back at ringside once again with Ole Anderson and Double A, Arn Anderson, two of the stars of the National Wrestling Alliance. And first thing comes to mind, Ole, is the National Tag Team Championships, a championship that you and Thunderbolt Patterson hold.
Well, I said it before. Thunderbolt Patterson really didn't hold it so much as just carried the belt a little bit and walked around and tried to tell people he was a champion. I'm the one that carried Thunderbolt Patterson. In fact, every time I was in a match, I'm the one that had to sit there and make sure that Thunderbolt got this and got that. Like he always put his hand out there, and I went for it for a long time. When I saw this kid again, I realized what I had to do. I had to go back and I had to make sure that the Minnesota Wrecking Crew came back into existence. You look at here, you take a look at two people who are no question the best athletes in the world today, don't have maybe that little finesse that some of these other guys do. But if you think there's not going to be anybody in this world, I don't think you're going to see a Dusty Rhodes or a Thunderbolt Patterson or Tommy Rich or anybody else beat the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, and you can make book on that.
That's it from Ole and Arn Anderson.
You got it.
Two of the top stars here today on World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit. Like, the stuff that he said was so understated, but just so menacing. Like, you legitimately thought he was going to whoop someone's ass. And 9 times out of 10, he did. Arn Anderson, he debuted in 1982. Started out as Super Olympia underneath the mask. He became a member of Ron Fuller's Stud Stable and Continental.
You can see just by the look on his face that Mr. Olympia means exactly what he says when you two men.
He's an idiot. First of all, you got to earn the right to be called Mr. Olympia. Mr. Olympia means the best in bodybuilding. Means you got to have a body. Fed don't have a body. He's barely got a head. You understand what I'm saying? So if he wants to be called Mr. Olympia and wear that little sparkly hood, he's going to have to earn it. And that means he's going to have to beat me in a cage.
Ain't no way.
I don't believe he can do it.
No way, Arnold.
No
way. Ain't no way. He's one of the men in my stable. He's not a loser, Jack. You can tell by looking at my group here. Back up there, cameraman. Get a full shot of my group here. You can see that they're all winners. They're all great wrestlers. They're all a part of the greatest managerial concoction that's ever been put together. I am going to be the greatest manager of all time. Of all time, I'm telling you. I'm going to have all the championships, including the Continental Championship. My men can do it. I can do it. And if they can't do it, I can do it. I'll take my jacket off, and I'll get in the ring, and I'll do it. But on these cage matches, I'm not going to have to. Jimmy Golden don't have to worry. He ain't even going to have to face Austin Idiot, because Austin Idiot is not going to make it to the cage match. Austin Idiot's on his way now to the hospital, and he'll probably be there, supine on his back for a number of days, no doubt. And we'll be looking. We'll send you get well cards. I promise you, Austin. We'll see to it that you get your get well cards and everything. P-head, just like we said, you come into that cage without the mask on, and if you lose in the cage, you got have to leave without the mask on. You'll always be Jerry Stubbs, the loser that you are. Mark my words, it's going to happen. You're going to lose to Arnold Anderson, and Jimmy Golden is going to win by forfeit in the cage. My man, the assassin back here, he's standing by, ready when I need him. My man, Humongous over here, he's going to be taking care of Bullet Bob Armstrong, get me the Continental title. Everything is happening. It's Christmas, and it's time that the stud had a great present. Coming to town.
Was the NWA Southeastern Tag Team Champions with Mr. Olympia. And 3 times he was Southeastern Tag Team Champions, 3 times with Mr. Olympia, and once with Pat Rose throughout 1984. Spent some time over in Mid-South briefly before making his debut in 1984 and Jim Crockett Promotions. The first time you really kind of see Arn Anderson was in Georgia. In Georgia Championship Wrestling, when he came in, he teamed up with Jerry Suggs. But it goes in with that Ole Anderson turn, where Ole Anderson turns on Thunderbolt Patterson and is like, no, this is the new Anderson.
A devastating move and another win once again for Arn Anderson, Ole.
A pretty good move. And, of course, once again, I guarantee you that when the guy goes home, he's not going to be able to say to anybody, well, I could beat Arn next time I see him, or I'm going to be better, because that kid has got a few bruises on him that aren't going to go away too easily.
Okay, we're joined at ringside by Thunderbolt Patterson.
Well, I don't have very much to say. It's just, you got to change your heart, it seems like, I know this is, blood is a little deeper than water and everything, and Ken is run kind of deep and all, but, it was a time when you didn't go for, rough tactics like that, and just because he's your Ken, you can't uphold what he's doing.
What about that?
I can understand him being a great wrestler.
I've had some time to think. And you ought to know probably as well as anybody things that have happened to me in my life in the past, year, 6 months, whatever it is. And I think you know that I've done what I could do. But frankly, I finally realized maybe it doesn't do any good. Maybe it's a waste of time. I look at that kid, and you're right, I see an Anderson. I see what it can be. I don't see what somebody else wants me to make it. I see what it can be for me. I can see what it might do for that kid. And if you really stop and think about it, Bolt, if you give it some time and reflect on it, you're looking at me right now. I feel like I'm going back in time. Well, maybe that's what we ought to do. Maybe that's what we got to do. Maybe that's what it has to be. Maybe it's got to go back in time. Because if I look at it honestly, I look at you, and I look at Tommy Rich, and I look at, Dusty Rhodes. I look at this Magnum TA, and I realize, all of a sudden, like a light, when I see this kid, all of a sudden I realize, you know what, Ole, you've been a kind of a dummy. You know why? No, wait a minute. You know why? Because, Bolt, frankly, I've been carrying you. I've been carrying Tommy Rich. I've been carrying Dusty Rhodes. I've been carrying all of you. I've been carrying you. I can squat with 700 pounds, and all of you together weigh a little bit more, and I'm just finally tired of it. You used to tell me how... Don't shake your head.
The people told me. The people said, hey, look, there isn't anything changing. This is just the trinkets before you, this goes way back. Way back. Are you going to be a liar?
No, I don't call it a liar. I realize I just wake up. No, wait a minute. Let me say something. They talk about, get that camera, and you say you look in a person's eyes and you can tell whether they're giving you any garbage, BSing you, so they call it.
Yeah.
You take a look, and you're going to see in my eyes, you're going to see the truth. I'm going to just tell you right now, don't worry, I'm not going to touch you. Not yet. I'm going to tell you this. Today is a free day. Today is the day that you and I look at each other, and I admit, nice guy that you were, whatever, but I helped you can't deny it. The days are over. I'm leaving. Next time I see you, I would suggest maybe you watch out.
Can you believe that? Those words from Ole Anderson, and like he said, a very, very serious man looking at Arn Anderson and then remembering, as he said, the way it was. Ole Anderson, and that was very, very much a surprise, not only to me, but of course to Thunderbolt Patterson and all their friends. Obviously, very, very surprised with what had happened.
You know, this is my cousin, and you know, I'm going to team with him. I'm not going to team with you anymore. And then Ole cuts this like this super menacing promo, and then you know the Andersons are back, and in a big way. So, so we have the Andersons, you know, in Mid-Atlantic. You know, they won the NWA National Tag Team Championship. They would go on to face guys like Wahoo, McDaniel, Billy Jack Haynes. By the time we get into the latter half of 1984, the Horsemen were born.
Let's bring in once again the man, the world heavyweight champion. It's your boy Ric Flair.
You know, as great as I am, it's a little hard when there aren't too many telephone booths around myself to get ready to come out here and style and profile for the world today. You see, this is the world heavyweight champion. Just like this, one moment, the greatest athlete alive. Just like this, the second moment, a refined business executive. And you know what? When you're the world champion, you always hang out with the elite people in the greatest sport in the world. I'm talking about professional wrestling. You look at the great Tully Blanchard, the United States heavyweight champion, right here. There they are. My own family, the national tag team champions, Ole and Arn Anderson, and the new world, and I mean world television champion, the great Arn Anderson. And Tony, you gotta know that, brother, you're standing right here in some tall cotton, if you know what I mean, right, Ole?
Some of the best in the world, right? Not some of the best. You're talking about the best. Everybody else looks at the Andersons, they look at Flair, they look at Blanchard, and when they try to figure out a game plan, or when they want to figure out how they want to be the rest of their life, that's the people that they look at. We're the people that they look at. We've got more pictures in wrestling rooms, locker rooms, than any place else, anybody else in the whole world. That's because we're the best. We've got the belts to prove it. We've always done a lot of talking. We've always done a lot of bragging. But like we said years ago, I guess, it's difficult to be modest when you're so great. And we are great. We are the best.
Lord, how it's hard to be humble. Woo. You know, you're looking at the real positive attraction guys right here. I mean, girls. Is there anything like it? I know all you women out there in Columbus know how refined Ole Anderson can be, huh? Woo. You remember how he used to terrorize the great state of Georgia.
Hey. Here, there is Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA. They
got quiet time.
Oh, they're calling Flair. They're calling Ric Flair. David, but there's four of these guys here.
Hey, wait a minute.
There's four of these guys on the floor here. It's easy for them to talk.
Talking Magnus say, hey, come on, you guys. We don't care if they're four. Come on, now Flair's taking his foot. Flair's taking off. They're getting in the ring. All four of them. All four, man. Ole Arn. The Road Warriors in. Oh, the Road Warriors come in. All right. It's four against four. Come on, you guys. Let's go. Four against four. Hey, the four against four, Miguel. Even now. Are you afraid? Come on.
What kind of stuff is this? You know as well as I do that Rhodes has got something in that boot. Who knows what the Road Warriors got on? We're talking about Rhodes. We're talking about Magnum TA.
He won the NWA Television Championship in 1986. So he was one half of the National Tag Team Champions and the Television Champion at the same time, which is awesome.
Arn Anderson. Mr. Anderson.
David Crockett, will you listen to this mess?
Yeah, listen
Do
to
I have to listen to this? Every building I go, no matter where I go in the country, no matter what mall I go to, I can't even go out to a restaurant. All I hear is people chanting. Cooks from the back room hollering, Dusty's going to get you. Dusty's going to do this. Dusty's going to do this. I got to be insulted by some fry cook at Denny's and wherever it is, Saskatchewan or whatever. I got to come to these arenas and be insulted. Nobody's going to break my leg. I'm the world television champion. If Dusty Rhodes wants this belt, all he's got to do is beat me inside 20 minutes to do it. That's all in the world he's got to do. He's got 20 minutes to take this and put down all. And what is this? Now what is this? Now what is this? This is my interview time. What's going on here?
Arn Anderson, we told you were next. Maybe this will fit.
What is that? I don't have to put up with this out of a painted lady. No broad's gonna come out here and insult me. What is this? What's the matter? What's going on here, David Jenkins?
What is this?
What's going on? What do you think this is going on my leg? What is she trying to tell me?
It looks like a calf, doesn't it?
Are you telling me she just came out on national television and threatened to break my leg?
She did say you were next, if I remember correctly.
That's a criminal act. That's a criminal act. I ought to have her arrested.
They said Ole, and they did it. Now they said you.
Shut these people up. I got a point to... Okay, Dusty Rhodes, you've laid the foundation. You had your stooge come out here. If this is what you want, I'm not going to have you locked up. This is martial law. Every man for himself. You want to break my leg? Let's see if you're man enough to do it.
The Horsemen in general, they may be the greatest faction of all time. Like, it's like, who do you compare them to, right? You compare them to DX, you compare them to the NWO, you can compare them to, I guess, the Bullet Club now. But, you know, these are four guys that was like, they always had belts. You know, they're just the top heel faction, top heel group for such a long time. And, you know, not for nothing, they didn't win a whole lot, you know? They would always lose, but they were always basically strong. And then I think, you know, the package of all four of them would be Arn, Ole, Tully, and Flair with JJ. It was fucking fantastic. They had that fantastic cage match with the Rock and Roll Express at Arcade 86, which was fucking awesome. Which like that kind of led to Ole getting thrown out of the Horsemen and getting replaced with Luger.
Yeah.
But it made sense. I remember when Luger came in. He came in and it was funny because he would actively like politic to be in the Horsemen, like on TV. It's like, I'm supposed to be a Horseman. Like, look at me, like, hey guys, us. And then eventually he does become becomes a Horseman. And I think he was pretty well. He did pretty well in that role for a while. Do you remember why the Horsemen threw out Lex?
Why they threw out Lex?
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking, I believe it was because he refused. It was a battle royal or something, wasn't it? And he refused. He refused to like let Flair win it or something like that. It was like.
Maybe I'm not sure if it was a bunkhouse.
I think it was a bunkhouse qualifier, and like he was gonna win it, and they wanted him to like jump out and let like Arn or Ole win it, and he wouldn't.
I think it might have been JJ. I think that guys, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they wanted like all the guys to win, and I think Luger had already won one, and I think it was JJ.
I'm not gonna know time on this case station. It's very expensive, but I'm gonna spend some of it. 1 year ago, J.J. Dillon came to me, came to Flair, came to Tully. He said there's a guy down in the Everglades of Florida with a fantastic body and willing to learn. A diamond in the rough. So what we did was we sacrificed our time, our body to train Luger in the aspects of being a horseman. He came along real well. Well, Luger, for you to stand to the forefront, correct James J. Dillon verbally, then put your hands on him physically, you put yourself in no man's land, fella. What's happened? The four horsemen were here long before you came here. They're going to be here long after you leave. Now, you're the perfect physical specimen. You're the total package. But what you are alone is just another man. We're the Horsemen. You rose to greatness better than you could ever be by yourself. But the bottom line is, my friend, you want to find out how good you are, you're looking at the measuring stick. We're not going to draw straws to see who gets on you, Luger. You want to be the total package. You're no longer a Horseman. I'm going to look you eye to eye. We're going to find out. Don't cry about the game plan. The problem was the execution. The game plan was fine. You're not the athlete to pull it off like you think you are. You were coached by the greatest of them all, James J. Dillon. You were trained by the greatest of them all, Tully Blanchard, myself, Ric Flair. Any shortcomings you had on your own. Now you want to find out if you're the total package. You want a full grip on what the Four Horsemen are all about. You're looking at the measuring stick. I'm coming for you, Luger. Don't be looking for me. That's it, baby. Yeah.
All right, we'll be back with more action right after these messages.
So Luger left the Horsemen, then formed a team with Barry. We all know what happened with that, where Barry turns on Luger, which is fantastic. That was in 1988. That's one of your favorite turns of all time. I know that.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're on the right path. I've got it pulled up here. Luger, I think J.J. Dillon was going to win it, and he refused to give him the win.
Yeah.
Which, makes sense. But that's, again, beautiful. They did a really good job with that whole entire thing, And I think, what they really got right was they had 4 guys who could all talk.
Yeah.
And even Luger's promos weren't.
They're good enough.
They were good enough. He was a young wrestler too, like
green as fucking grass too.
It's like he did a really good job. Like I watch his matches now, and I'm like, he did a pretty good job for a young rookie.
You know that I am one of the biggest Lex Luger apologists in the fucking world. I know everyone says, "Oh, he sucked. He did this and that and the other thing. He didn't have good matches." I thought he had good matches with Wyndham. I thought he had good matches. He had that good match with Dusty. He had that good matches with Flair.
Right.
He was having good matches. I mean, yes, he's being led through, but I think he had a great match with Nikita Koloff. I remember that was like I watched that like this is underrated as hell, and they're both shitty workers supposedly, right?
Right.
But I'm a Luger apologist. I think it's a lot more shit than he deserves. A lot of it, you want to talk post 1997, he deserved all that shit because he was shitty. But whatever. But I think Arn Anderson, especially when it comes to like War Games. I think those were like his best performances, like in the War Games.
Yeah,
he did such an amazing job in there. So
too many bodies at ringside. I'm gonna come back over here to the set. Go to David. We're gonna take a body count. Strewn everywhere, and by whom? The Midnight Express with Jim Cornette, United States Tag Team Champions. Looks like this brings out the best in you. Let me just freshen up Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson, JJ. Let's just call him the Horseman. Let me freshen up the Horseman's memory just a little bit. You see, you jump on Bobby Eaton, you think that's going to do the job, intimidate, scare the Midnight Express. Brother, because we don't intimidate by you punks or anybody else. Because we've been doing the same thing you've been doing for years, and we know exactly what we are doing. We did it to Bobby Fulton. If you remember, we conked him over there with a steel chair. He went to the hospital with a concussion for a brain scan. We burned all the hide off Ronnie Garvin's face and scarred him for life and sent him to the hospital. And when you won the World Tag Team title, Tully and Arn, it was these men right here that smacked Robert Gibbs over there with a chair, separated Ricky Morton's shoulder, and sent him to the hospital so you could win the things in the first place. So you ain't got nothing on us. When we jump on somebody, they say jump that, brother. That's exactly where we're jumping, to the Four Horsemen of professional wrestling, the almighty Four Horsemen that everybody thinks is invincible. And you can clap and you can scream if you want to, but just like I said before, you people out there in TV land, you don't know what you want, but we know what we want, and it's the World Tag Team title. And Arn Anderson, you said the Midnight Express are just like that dog that chases the Mercedes until one day the car taps them and knocks them in a ditch, and they go back to what they're doing best, squatting on fire hydrants. Well, let me tell you something right now. The Midnight Express could do to the Four Horsemen what a dog does to a fire hydrant, and it'd be the first time in their lives they ever looked or smelled like men, brother. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with the Midnight Express and the Horsemen meet, you better be there. Anderson and Blanchard are the World Tag Team Champions, and they are ready for Jim Cornette's Midnight Express. Here's Tony Schiavone with a man that Jim Cornette spoke of, James J. Dillon. JJ didn't expect it to really get into a much less a physical war, but a verbal war, but he was really attacking you out here earlier on the program.
I heard his comments to Jim Cornette is very, very quick-witted. But in my opinion, I think this reject from the Comedy Store has peaked because he has taken a great team, which may or may not have become United States champions without Jim Cornette. But the fact remains that he does manage the United States champions. But I think that's as high as he's ever going to go. And he's made reference to my years. Maybe Jim Cornette will be lucky to live as long as I have. Because with age, Mr. Cornette, comes wisdom. Now, I've had over my illustrious career over 3,000 and some matches, and I've faced some awful, double tough people in my career. Jim Cornette, the biggest battle that you ever fought in your life was with halitosis, and from the smell of your breath, you lost that one too. Let's talk about the fact that Jim Cornette's mama lived in a little duplex and saved her money. Let's talk about the fact that Jim Cornette, God the Cougar, lived in an apartment somewhere on the other side of the tracks and saved his money. That gives Jim Cornette a huge bank account. Big bucks in the bank don't necessarily give you clout. Dusty Rhodes has got clout. Ric Flair has got clout. Lex Luger, Sting, Dr. Death, the Four Horsemen have clout. By being clout, what I mean is when we walk in a restaurant, if there's a line 200 feet long, somebody like the maitre d' looks to the back, and everybody's going, there's the Four Horsemen, and they shuttle train us to the front. That's clout. When you get clout, that means you're the best on God's earth that you can possibly be. So Jim Cornette, your mama's money, your mismatched suit, any type of lawyers you want to throw at the Four Horsemen and Stan Lane's taking it, Bobby Eaton with those pink long doors, don't make anything to do with what we're doing. We're talking professional wrestling. We're talking world tag team champions. Nothing fancy about us. What's fancy about this? Nothing. If you want to be a champion in this sport, if you want to be tag team technicians, you beat the Four Horsemen. Because where the finisher is, nothing fancy, but we get the job done. Bottom line.
All right, the World Tag Team Champions fans. Yes, sir. And more coming up right after this timeout.
He ended up leaving the NWA in 1988 to join Tully Blanchard and the WWF. So they went in as a duo as the Brainbusters. They had a good run in WWF too. I mean, it wasn't, they won the World Tag Team Championship. They beat Demolition. Yeah. They had great matches with the Rockers. Like, their matches with the Rockers were fucking amazing.
Hope you enjoyed your holidays, Rockers. You see, because all your festive times are over.
You think back about the Rockers, and they had that record so clean and so good, and they were vaulting up to the top of the WWF in the tag team status. But then came Bobby the Brain and the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson. And you know what? All men that live in glass houses have a chance of stumbling and crackling everything down around them.
Don't worry about the butterflies. You get a lot of fine teams have had them. But the bottom line is we're vaulting to the top. We've always said it. We're the cement on the family, the Bobby Heenan family. So when we beat you, just remember there's got to be winners, there's got to be losers, and we are winners. Trust me on that one.
They didn't last too long. They made it basically a year or so, a little bit more than a year in the WWF. But they were featured. They were taken care of. They were, in a good spot. Again, you have Tully, you have Arn, but then you have Bobby. It's like, do they really need a manager? I don't know. But you can say that for everyone in Bobby's group. Like, Rude didn't need a mouthpiece. Mr. Perfect didn't need a mouthpiece. Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard didn't need a mouthpiece. I mean, yeah, you guys have like Aku and Barbarian and Andre, who needed someone to talk for him, but a lot of these guys didn't. I guess they just completed the package. Arn Anderson would return to WCW in late 1989. Initially, he came in back as a babyface because remember at the time, Flair was a babyface when he came back.
Wasn't he fighting J-Tex?
Yeah, they're fighting J-Tex. Ole comes back as a babyface too, so they come back as a babyface, and that's when they put Sting in the Horsemen. And then eventually, like all good things, the Horsemen turn on Sting because Sting he won the Future Shock tournament at Starrcade '89, and he got a title match against Flair, and like nope, you got to give up your title shot. You have to give up your title shot, and Ole cuts a hell of a promo on Sting at that point, and they jump Sting and they beat the shit out of Sting, and the Horsemen are back in WCW, this time with Sid Vicious as the fourth Horseman.
Sid Vicious.
Yeah. Eventually, Horsemen are there for a while. Another War Games match. So Arn Anderson ended up winning the NWA World Television Championship from Tom Zank.
Arn Anderson and Barry Windham, the Horsemen, in their endeavor to win the World Tag Team Championship from Doom, have reverted back to something they call basic training. We have an interesting videotape of that particular basic training.
A lot of people out there may think, BW, this is a real primitive way of training. Well, maybe we got too civilized toward the end of the 80s. Maybe we got too used to the cushy life. That silver spoon got so big, we had to spit it out. Well, we may have spit out the silver spoon, my friend. There's one thing that you can't get around. The most pure emotion is pain and followed by fear. Tell him, big man.
You know, the 90s have been referred to as the reckoning with truth. In the 80s, everything was clouded. Nobody ever told the truth. In the 90s, the way to go is flat out. Tell no lies. That's the way we're gonna do it. When you hear something from our lips, truth it may be, and as much as it may hurt, you can count on it being exactly the way that it is.
Get in touch with your emotions. Find out what your worst phobia is. I want everybody affiliated with WCW to prepare themselves for Armageddon. "1991, our resurgence has begun, and don't think you're safe."
The horsemen don't rest. When we win a championship, we go full bore to keep a championship. Like so many of our opponents, this is the way they look and feel the morning after a match with us.
This may be a symbolic way of showing you the primitive way we're going to deal with things. America's greatest fear is gang violence. Where the horsemen are concerned, there's not going to be any drive-by shooting. We're going to keep it legal, but we're going to keep it as violent as the law allows. No one's safe. Jump on the horseman. You're going to the hospital in the 90s. BW, when you look at this dump, say to Hemsley Palace, pal, you can better bet that.
But it's a lot cheaper.
You got to be asking yourself, how do we walk around these slum tenements? No fear of gangs? You guys scared to walk around this area? And that certainly ain't Dom Perignon, pal. Let me tell you something, we're the horsemen. We come and go as we please. Yeah, America's greatest fear is gang violence. Well, there was a bunch of punks with scarves on their head back here. They all piled in a van and hit the bricks. See, America, World Championship Wrestling in particular, finally getting the idea. Gonna be any drive-by shootings. Nothing illegal. Gonna be some immoral things going on, though. You see, we're gonna take it as far as the law allows. Tell them, BW.
You know, about 5 minutes ago, this place was packed with thugs. And every door is bolted. They're still clipping the padlocks on the doors. This one right here is afraid to come out, afraid to even look out the window. But I'll tell you what, it's this way in every town we go. Every street we walk, every bar, pub, or club we walk in. Everybody seems to disappear. And it's happening that way in World Championship Wrestling. Sting, Luger, the Steiners, Doom, in their own element, are nowhere to be found. We came down here looking for Teddy Long. I think he owns this joint, but it got us nowhere.
Let me tell you something. Barry Windham got a funny new haircut, a lot of them say it. Ric Flair got a funny haircut. Ric Flair don't wear three-piece suits anymore. What's the matter with you guys? Well, there ain't nothing the matter with us. What's going to be the matter is with each and every day that passes, casualties begin to pile up. You take this violent setting, you look at these people in the window, scared to death to come outside. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it always will be. The strong survive. And there's strength in numbers. And when we're talking about numbers, we're talking about four. The four horsemen.
He ended up dropping it to Bobby Eaton in 1991. The rest of the horsemen ended up leaving, so Flair and Sid Vicious left WCW. Essentially, at that point, Arn Anderson formed a tag team with Larry Zbyszko. They called themselves the Enforcers, and eventually became part of Paulie Dangerously Dangerous Alliance.
Yeah,
which was fucking awesome. I love the Dangerous Alliance. I don't know anyone that says, "Hey, the Dangerous Alliance, they suck." Like, that doesn't happen. That conversation never ever happens. Like, they were fantastic, and Arn Anderson was the cornerstone of the Dangerous Alliance, along with like Rick Rude, Bobby Eaton, and Steve Austin. So those guys were fucking fantastic.
Double A, Arn Anderson. Arn, come on in. I want to pick up where we left off last week, and that's on the subject of the possible unification of the Four Horsemen, starting with you and the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Gene, it's always a pleasure to be out here with you, but I'm tired of warming up. I've been warming up now for months. Everybody's saying, are you healthy? Are you 100%? Where are you going? What's your focus? Yeah, I'm warmed up. I'm through warming up. I'm ready.
Whoa, wait a minute. Word with you out here. Colonel Park, here's a man here with all your possibilities. My Lord, you do have great possibilities. And here you are wasting your time talking about regrouping the Four Horsemen. You realize that I already have a stud stable. There's nothing I'd like more than to have you be part of it. And let's do remember here, Ric Flair, you're talking about being so important in your Four Horsemen. He's all tied up with his world title. He's tied up also with Hulk Hogan and all that bunch. Seems like to me you're wasting your good time here, sir.
Let me ask you something, Colonel. When did you become my advisor?
I ain't become your advisor. I'm just trying to tell you be beneficial.
Don't tell me anything. And number two, my friend, there's an old saying. You don't mess with family. You don't jump a dog in his own backyard. Ric Flair is my family. He's the best friend I have on this planet. Don't come out here knocking Ric Flair about what went down between he and I.
You're kind of in trouble, son. I say what you're doing here, you're ignorant. Better find some boundaries, and I'm talking about pretty fast, because you're going to be handling me here. Don't get in my face, Arn Anderson. You remember that and remember it.
No, let me tell you something. I've asked about him, and I know who you are. You went and got the very best, but don't try your luck today. And one more thing, my friend. You got a stable with a bunch of real tough horses in it. But you ain't getting this horse in the stable because I'm not for sale. And if I was, you couldn't afford me.
How about that, Colonel? I think that's an emphatic no.
Oh, pretty high and mighty now, ain't you, boy? We'll see, won't we?
When Flair comes back, once again, they reform the Horsemen. So it's it's Arn, it's Ole, and they bring in Paul Roma.
Ugh.
It wasn't supposed to be Paul Roma. Paul Roma was a last-minute replacement for Tully Blanchard. They apparently gave Tully Blanchard a lowball offer, which he refused, so they put Roma in the Horsemen. And that was shitty, too. And I think the Horsemen were baby faces again. It was weird. 93 WCW, up until Bischoff takes over full-time, it's still fucking weird. After that... Arn Anderson joins the stud stable, Colonel Rob Parker. So Arn Anderson joins the stud stable, and he's in there with Bunkhouse Buck, Stunning Steve Austin, Meng, and Terry Funk. And the stud stable essentially feud with Dusty and Dustin Rhodes. They did a great turn. So Dustin is having problems with the stud stable, and basically Terry Funk. So it's Dustin Rhodes having a feud with Terry Funk. And he gets Arn Anderson to be his partner because he needs someone mean and nasty that's going to break rules and break legs. And he gets Arn Anderson. And then 5 minutes into the match, fucking Arn Anderson just DDT'd Dustin Rhodes. But it comes to this promo where Dusty comes back out and is like, no, I don't want you to find another partner. I don't want you to find another man to have your back. I will be your tag team partner. So you had Dusty and Dustin Rhodes taking on the stud stable.
Nice.
He ended up winning his last championship in 1985 when he won the World Television Championship from Johnny B. Bad. Held it for about 6 months until he dropped it to the Renegade. And then once again, they reformed the Horsemen. This time, it's Anderson, Flair, Brian Pillman, and Chris Benoit, which is a really good Horseman group, but that wouldn't really last for that long. Eventually, they replaced Pillman with Steve Mongo McMichael. Yeah. I like Mongo, though. I don't like him as a wrestler. I thought he was a cool person. By the time we get to 1997, Arn and Cena had to retire because, due to injuries, which is sad. His career was long, 82 to 97. It's a really decent career. Again, he was on top for most of that time. He was in the upper mid card. He was always doing something important. But since then, he's essentially been a road agent. And I'll tell you this, guys: if you watch a good match on WWE, 9 times out of 10, it's Arn Anderson who was the agent for that match. You can tell. You can tell the difference. So if you ever watch a good match on WWE television, not talking about NXT, I'm talking about, either Raw or SmackDown, it's Arn Anderson who is the agent for that match. So Arn Anderson, a hell of a career, and he's still in the wrestling business, He's just, overall, I think people, I wouldn't call him underrated anymore, because I think people are rating him appropriately as one of the all-time greats. Should be in the WWE Hall of Fame by himself, but he's not. But he's in there as a Horseman, so I guess that's good enough. So next up, we're going to talk about Wahoo McDaniel.
Wahoo. I know you're hot. Let me tell you something. If I didn't want to save it for Jack Briscoe, I'd have put his butt right here. And I can do it. I know for a man to go out there and deliberately cripple someone, a great athlete, a good man, and he doesn't like Indians, well, there's plenty of Indians left for him to try to cripple. And I'm going to tell you something. It'll come back. You can hurt people. You can do that kind of stuff. Eventually, it's going to come back, and I guarantee you one thing, Biber, I don't want to hear you cry.
So, Matt, what are your thoughts on Wahoo McDaniel?
Well, I caught Wahoo mostly towards, like, a lot of people in the upper Northeast, towards the end of his career in the, mid to late 80s. I remember him being basically kind of an Indian version of Abdul the Butcher. Like, he just seemed to bleed all the time. Yeah. He was often the good guy when I saw him at AWA. He was always, brought in to, brutalize some bad guy who would cross the line.
On TV accuses me of Stanley Blackburn being friends because we're both from Texas. Well, I don't care what you think, Manny Fernandez. The day you stepped up and hit me in the back of the head and ripped my feathers up in front of millions of people, that was a day that you signed. You might as well have signed right then. Now, I'm not going to stand here and lie to you people and say I don't have the advantage, because I do have the advantage. Because I've had 100 strap matches. And Manny Fernandez, the funny thing about it is, I've never lost a strap match. So you're going to have to go in there 8 feet away from me at 8 feet apart, brother. And then you can't run. You're going to have to stay in there and fight. Now, we're both crazy and we're both tough. And I don't even know whether Chicago's ready for this or not.
I'd watch his stuff and think it was pretty stiff, but,
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Wahoo. What they say is like, nah, he was fucking snug as all shit. Like, there's matches with him and Johnny Valentine's where, like, those were real matches. Those were shoots. Like, they would get up close to the crowd and they really would beat the shit out of each other. So, Wahoo is amazing. And a legitimate Native American, by the way, unlike Jay Strongbow. Yeah. So, he debuted in 1961, trained by Dory Funk, the patriarch of the Funk family. He played linebacker for the New York Jets and Houston Oilers. Legitimate football player, like not like, some people in wrestling like, oh yeah, he was a football player, but he ride the bench or he only played one season. But Wahoo had a really good career in football. He played 8 years, from 1960 to 1968. So he had a legitimate run in professional football. Started out in Amarillo, Texas, and then he went on to the WWF. Never really came back after his initial run, and I wonder if there was some heat there. I'm assuming so. He was a frequent challenger for Dory Funk's Junior's NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and basically, literally a main eventer for his entire career. Went over to the AWA, had a feud with superstar Billy Graham, but I think he really became a superstar when he came to Mid-Atlantic. And then, his feud with Johnny Valentine is one of the greatest feuds of all time. Eventually, again, he's been everywhere. AWA, NWA, spent a little time in Japan, Hawaii. So a big name throughout the wrestling world.
Well, there's no doubt fans during that match, of course, the Briscoes were terribly upset saying that Charlie Brown was Jimmy Valiant and that Valiant had not left. Right here, right now, we want to talk with two that I'm sure are familiar with all you wrestling fans, Nature Boy Ric Flair, and right here, Wahoo McDaniel. Rick,
well, Bob,
been a time since we've seen this man,
That's
too.
right. Let me be the first one to say, Wahoo McDaniels, welcome back to the Mid-Atlantic area, brother. One of the greatest wrestlers, one of the greatest athletes to ever walk the face of the earth. All you people know who I'm talking about, Wahoo McDaniels. And when the Chief's in town, the party's on. Because the Chief and I always like to throw parties for guys that think they can move us out. And I'm talking about Valentine, I'm talking about Slater, I'm talking about the Briscoes, I'm talking about anybody in wrestling. Ron Bass, Cowboy Bob Duncan, it makes no difference. Anybody thinks they can move Wahoo McDaniels and Ric Flair out, all you got to do is put your name on the dotted line, Daddy, and you, will find us fair. Right, Chief?
Wahoo, good to see you.
I'll tell you one thing, it's good to be back. And football season's coming up, the Miami Dolphins. I played 3 years there, my heart's still with them. But like he said, Harley Race putting out bounties on people. These guys coming around, the Briscoes come up here now, they are the greatest Indians. Well, let me tell you something, Briscoes. I'm from Oklahoma, I'm the original Indian, and I'll tell you one thing. I'm ashamed when I see you for what y'all have done since I've been gone. I've been traveling a lot. I've been in the AWA. I've been over in Japan. I hear all the things that are going on, and I'm back for one reason. That's to help my friends like Flair, Orton, Piper. Things get a little one-sided sometimes, and you need a little help. And I know if I got on the phone and I called them and I needed a little help, it wouldn't take but just a dime in the phone, and they'd be there to help me. Well, I'm here, and I'm here to stay, and I think a lot of things are going to start changing.
Bob, we like to think that the greatest competition in all of professional wrestling takes place right here in the Mid-Atlantic area. And Wahoo McDaniels and myself and Roddy Piper, Steamboat Youngblood, we like to figure ourselves right into the action. If it's here and you want it, come and get it, because we're in town for a party, Daddy.
Again, he spent a lot of time in Mid-Atlantic. He, feuded with Roddy Piper of the United States Championship. He feuded with Abdullah Butcher, feuded with Sergeant Slaughter. And I think the thing that we see on TV right now is his later run in Jim Crockett Promotions. So it starts with his heel turn in '84, his feud with Flair throughout the year 1984. And then we see him in Florida quite a bit. At that point, you will see him in a bunch of Starrcades. We see him in '86. He's having Indian strap matches with Jimmy Garvin. He won the national championship from Tully Blanchard in LA. He lost a unification match with Nikita Koloff. The later part of the '80s, he's wrestling mainly in the WWE, the AWA, and in Puerto Rico. And then basically, he retired right after that. He was inducted into the WCW Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's currently in the WWE Hall of Fame. I don't think so.
I don't think he is either.
He'll probably make it in as one of those the legacy classes where they don't talk about that. Yeah. But Wahoo McDaniel, amazing performer, one of the all-time greats.
We're with Chief Wahoo McDaniel. We talked about the Great American Badge. Wahoo, of course, in the Indian strap, part of the Great American Badge 86. As soon as we finish talking, we're going to show you a number about the Great American Badge, which you can call. But Wahoo, I know you're looking for that Indian strap match.
Well, what you said, seems like everybody's tuned and ready. Everybody's in a hurry to get their matches over. They're all ready. Their timing's the best I've ever seen. They got all the great athletes together here for the bash. Believe me, I'm just proud to be part of it. Jimmy Garvin, it's going to be bad for you because I've got my match signed, an Indian strap match. I'm not going to stand here and lie and say I don't have the advantage, because I do. Indian strap matches are what I do best. And you're going to be tied to me 8 feet away, and that's as far as you can get. And the only way you can win this match is to drag your opponent around that ring, touching all 4 posts. And can you imagine, just imagine how bad, Jimmy Garvin, you got to be hurt to be dragging you around there, but I'm going to do it.
We often talk about stereotypes in wrestling, But other than the headdress and I guess the chops, I don't know why Native American wrestlers chop, but I'm assuming it's like tomahawk chop. Like, I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah.
But, legitimate Native American, you know what I mean? Depending on what they were doing, he would actually, like, either really, like, use the Native American gimmick, and sometimes he would tone it down quite a bit, and he would wear, like, business suits and shit. So, again, one of the all-time greats, one of the biggest legends in the history of the sport. And, guys, if you've not seen a Wahoo McDaniel match, go out of your way to go watch it and see how legitimately stiff those matches are. They're as stiff, and in some cases more stiff than any kind of Japanese strong style you want to put out there. He's wearing motherfuckers out. I would have loved to see, and I wonder if it exists out there, fucking Wahoo McDaniel versus Ron Garvin.
Oh, it probably does.
I want to see if I can find one of those matches, because that should be fucking fantastic. But yeah, so that is Wahoo McDaniel in a nutshell. He did end up passing away in 2002, which is sad, but fantastic career overall. So next up, we're going to talk about Big Van Vader. Now, Big Van Vader recently passed away this Monday, the Monday prior to the show.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on Big Van Vader overall?
Oh, man, I remember him first as Leo White in AWA.
Yeah,
That's
Leo
right.
White, big baby bull.
Yeah, and then, he came back as Big Van Vader, and I remember at first being like, what? Big Van Vader? And then you saw him, and it was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And it was perfect timing. He was his feud with Flair in the WCW over the title was awesome. Yeah. That Starrcade 93 match was great.
Everyone loves that match.
Yeah, it was just a great match. And, Vader was so well used in WCW as this monster heel. I don't really remember much of his run in WWF, but it's probably because it wasn't as significant in a lot of ways. But
no. But the thing about Vader, and I guess we got to talk about it first, and I think maybe a lot of people know this, maybe not, a lot of people don't. Now, the Big Van Vader gimmick was a New Japan gimmick, right? So that's the character that New Japan created. And I'll give you one guess on who originally was supposed to play Big Van Vader.
Terry Gordy.
Nope. The person who was originally contacted to become Big Van Vader was the Ultimate Warrior.
Really?
Yeah. So imagine Warrior coming out with the fucking Mastodon mask and all that shit. Yeah. It was before he signed to WWF.
Wow.
Yeah. So that would have changed a lot of stuff. Big Van Vader debuted in 1985. Prior to that, he played for the NFL. He was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams and actually was there during their Super Bowl season. But he had a ruptured patella and had to retire. He was trained by Brad Rengens and started in 1985 as Baby Bull in the AWA. After that, he spent time at the CWA in Germany, ended up winning the World Championship. And then went over to Japan in 1987 and became Big Van Vader. So you know what they did in his debut match?
No.
He fucking squashed Inoki.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what got him over. Essentially, it started a riot. They fucking rioted because he beat him in 3 minutes or something.
Wow.
So they really put him over huge. Again, he won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. He won the CWA Championship. He actually won a championship in Mexico. So when they brought him into WCW, they basically told him he's been a world champion on 3 different continents, and that was one of the things that they really kind of talked about when he debuted in 1990. Now Vader did debut in WCW in 1990, but he was only there part-time because he was going back and forth to Japan. So we saw him at the Great American Bash 90 where he squashed Tom Zank. He comes back 8 months later. 7 months later he comes back and he wrestles Stan Hansen at Wrestle War. And then 8 months later than that, he comes back at Halloween Havoc in the Chambers of Horrors match. And, he's not there full-time. He's just there part-time, but he does come in full-time in 1992 when he beat Sting, which is surprising because Sting's title run at that point, because Sting had just beat Luger that February, and he lost it at the Bash to Vader. Vader did end up losing the WCW World Heavyweight Championship to Ron Simmons. Essentially, I get in arguments with people this all the time. People will erroneously say that Ron Simmons was the first African American world heavyweight champion. He wasn't. That distinction goes to Bearcat, right? But Ron Simmons, I guess for a modern era, would be the first African American heavyweight championship, I guess. I love Ron Simmons to death, but that's just not accurate. He ended up breaking some dude's back. You ever heard that story?
Ron Simmons?
No, Vader.
No.
So Vader, he broke the back of jobber Joe Thurman because he fucking powerbombed him and legitimately broke his back.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you just bump wrong, or?
He just fucking slammed him down and fucking folded him like a fucking accordion and broke him in half.
Wow.
Yeah. Vader went on to essentially feud with Sting for most of his run in WCW. Had those fantastic matches with Cactus Jack, and he powerbombed him on the fucking floor.
Oh,
and broke
God,
his
yeah.
nose, and it was like fucking. I mean, it put Cactus Jack over as a legitimate tough guy, but fuck, those things fucking really fucking he fucking destroyed fucking Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Eventually he went on to get in that feud with Ric Flair, ended up losing the belt to Flair. Then started having matches with Hulk Hogan, and I guess what killed Vader for a lot of people is when Vader powerbombed Hogan, and Hogan fucking hulked up right out of it.
Yeah.
Like he no-sold the powerbomb, and that was it for him.
If I was Vader, I would have broke his nose and been like,
"That's Hogan. You can't."
Fuck it. Vader's a tough, fucking legit tough guy. Like that's what I always say. Like to me, one of the cardinal sins in this business is no selling. Like it's one thing if you're doing it like for a quick effect or something like that, but like if you're taking a legit like big finishing move, sell it. I'd kick the fucker in the jewels. Fuck you. Like, that's just bullshit. Because it's like at that point you're like, oh, okay, you want to play that game?
It's funny because I don't remember off the top of my head, but when Sid powerbombed Hogan, I don't think he kicked out of it, but I don't think he no-sold it. The Vader one, he definitely popped back up for it, but we did the Sid one at WrestleMania 8. I don't think he popped up for it.
There's a fantastic GIF file of Vader and Ken Shamrock. You may have seen.
Yeah, he fucking knocked him out.
He asked him to fucking lay off, and Shamrock keeps laying into him, so he just shoves him back and fucking waylays him. It's like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's fucking
I remember one time, it's a fine line between looking like you're getting killed and actually killing someone. And to me, part of the business is being able to, your effectiveness is to look like you're killing somebody, but you're not.
Yeah.
And I remember one time we were in a practice match, and the guys thought that I ticked off Perry Saturn. And he started laying into me with boots in the corner, and we did the whole thing where he starts stomping the top rope, and the middle rope, and the bottom rope, and then he stomps me out of the ring. And when I hit the floor, the guys were all looking at me like I was dead. And I looked at them and I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, we thought he was really kicking you. I'm like, it's fucking wrestling. You're in a fucking school. But that's how good he was. I mean, he can make it look like he was massacring you. And that's why when I see things about Stan Hansen or certain guys who just, legit waylay guys, I get the whole it's kind of cool, but it's also it's kind of an asshole thing to do. Someone's trusting you not to destroy them. I mean, I know for all intents and purposes that guy could destroy this other guy, but in a lot of ways, if they're a legit tough guy, what was it with the Nasty Boys? Used to fucking beat people up, and the Road Warriors went to town on them. Is that the one?
I mean, Nasty Boys were just sloppy anyway. Steiner's, even Perry Saturn one time beat the shit out of that fucking job, fucking TV. There's guys who are notorious for being ridiculously stiff on job guys. Road Warriors definitely would just pick guys up and drop them. Kevin Sullivan at times. A lot of people say Vader was stiff, and he was stiff, but I don't think he legitimately went to hurt people. Unless it's Cactus, and Cactus Jack tells you to break his nose. So, but the Cactus wanted you to do it, so he did it. That's why he got issues in the WWE when he went over to the WWE. He was a little bit more snug than normal, and that really pissed off Shawn Michaels. And they had a great match, but you see it in the match where he's screaming at fucking Vader. He comes off the top rope to drop an elbow, but Shawn's so athletic that he just lands on his feet, and he basically says, "Move, motherfucker, move!" and fucking just stomps him in the head. And Shawn, do you really want me stomping Vader in the head? And then he went backstage and said, "Oh, I'll get you fucking fired, you fucking asshole." What are you gonna do? Shawn Michaels on drugs. Right. But yeah, essentially, after he left WCW, after he was, was he fired? I know he had the fight with Orndorff, and Orndorff beat him up.
Yeah.
When Orndorff was retired and in flip-flops, but what are you going to do? But, he left WCW. He had at first it looked like they were going to give him a big push. He fucking beat the shit out of fucking Gorilla Monsoon, and they looked like they were going to do some stuff, had that great match with Shawn Michaels. And then after that, they didn't really have anything for him, and he was just, being jobbed out for a long fucking time. Like, he lost the Edge.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He lost, like, the Bradshaw, when Bradshaw was still, like, in the Blackjacks. He lost the Edge on Sunday Night Heat. I was like, So, it wasn't... I don't think they knew what to do with Vader at that point, so... but Vader did have a resurgence. He went on to go to All Japan, and it was like the Vader of old. And I believe he won. Yeah, he won Triple Crown in 1999, and had a great run, basically from 1998 to 2002. Had some stints in like TNA for a brief time. Came back to the WWE in 2005, 2012, and one last time in 2016. Did independent dates essentially after that for a while. And he's been having some health issues. I mean, he's always, we would keep on hearing updates like on Twitter about his, his condition, his heart condition, and what have you. And we had, he basically had heart failure.
His heart just gave out.
Yeah. And then, eventually, like most things, pneumonia is the thing that pneumonia kills fucking people, especially if you're ill. It's usually not the thing that's wrong with you that kills you. It's usually at the end, it's always like pneumonia. And, it's sad to me because he was such a great performer, probably the greatest big man of all time. The guy was throwing fucking moonsaults and all kinds of innovative maneuvers. Those punches looked fucking fantastic. He was a monster, and it was amazing. And I wish he had a better run in WWF, but, he had a good run everywhere else. So, fantastic career. He was trying to get in the Hall of Fame last year. And he's like, guys, I really wanted to get in the Hall of Fame before I pass away. And WWE didn't let him in there. That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like Mark Henry could have waited another year. You know what I mean?
Right. I think, again, he was a quote-unquote, in Vince's eyes, not his creation. So. Yeah,
but they've been going away from that for a while now. So, like, Vern Gagne's in WWE Hall of Fame. And he fucking hated Vern Gagne.
Yeah.
I recently heard a story. I forget who was telling it. I heard it on the podcast that Vince loved to fuck with Vern Gagne more than any other promoter. So they did this thing where they had $1 million battle royal. So what Vince did was he called the IRS. He's like, make sure you get a cut of that $1 million that Crusher Blackwell was going to win. So the IRS agents come to the fucking arena and they have to explain that it's a fictitious amount and you didn't win $1 million. Like, he just had it in for Vern. He would always fuck with them. You heard the story about your favorite pay-per-view, Super Clash 3?
No.
What Vince did? Vince calls up these Illinois Athletic Commission, and the Illinois Athletic Commission had a rule that you couldn't box or wrestle if you had a prosthetic. So Vince called it on Kerry, Ron Eric, because he had missing the foot.
Wow.
Like, he just loved to fuck with Vern. Like, he didn't do that shit to anybody else, but he's loved fucking with Vern.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is Vader. Rest in peace, Vader. You were awesome. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about your good friend, Big Cass. He recently was released by the WWE. And I wonder if he's going to come up with a rap song.
It might happen.
Now, you think they're going to come back as a team, but they have heat. They don't get along.
I think that's part of the reason why they'd be a draw. People love TV shows where they know the actors fucking hate each other.
Yeah.
Or like movies like, oh, so-and-so, they were a couple in it, and now they hate each other, and, whatever. I just think career-wise, they do better as a team as opposed to solo and hoping that, they can kind of catch on. I mean, who knows?
You don't think it's in his best interest to completely shed the Big Cass character, come up with a brand new gimmick, change his look, maybe get a little bit more beefier? You don't think that's a better way to go than trying to rehash like an old gimmick with Enzo?
Well, I do. I just think it's going to take them longer to do it.
I agree.
Looking for, to
Because
get
them as a team would probably work out better, like in a TNA. I mean, in Impact Wrestling, like that would be the place to go for them if they're going to go as a unit. I don't think the independent crowd or a Japanese crowd are going to give them any love, But we'll see. Once they get their first bookings out of the way, we'll see if these guys are drawing. Hopefully he doesn't do the whole Ryback thing where he's like, I'm going to charge independent promoters $10,000 a shot and not get booked anywhere. But we'll see. I mean, he still has some work to do in terms of his work. Like, they would like him in Japan. A big cast by himself, because Japan loves big fucking American dudes that they think can work stiff. So, if he needs to gain a little weight, he needs to put some weight on. But I can see him with, the Killer Elite Squad over in New Japan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with Lance Archer and Harry Smith. He definitely has a shot over there. He has to change his attitude because that's why he got in trouble.
Yeah.
The shit with Carmella grabbing her by the arm, where some of the other wrestlers had to fucking pull him off of her allegedly. That was one issue. Tearing the fucking door off the bathroom and the airplane's another issue. And some of these guys, especially if they don't spend a whole lot of time in the independent scene, when they get called up to the WWE, to the main roster, a lot of these guys have ego problems.
Right.
So it's like he has to get humbled. And I think this was a wake-up call for him and see how he reacts. It's always about how he reacts. To see if he evolves as a performer. Because we've seen guys come back. Jinder Mahal. Although I don't like what they're doing with him, he should have been a babyface, by the way. I keep on mentioning that Jinder Mahal should have been a babyface. Drew McIntyre's another one. EC3 is another one. These guys can come back. Like, the door's not closed for them forever. They just see how he evolves from here. So, his work wasn't the greatest either. He needs to work on that. Like, I think I'm serious. I think Test was the better worker than him.
Yeah,
that's true.
I mean, I think what happened with them is they were so hot in NXT.
They rushed them up.
And the thing was, their whole intro kind of fell flat after a while. Like, oh, yeah, we get it. Yeah,
because you only do that for so long. And the fact the way the TV is so much TV, and these guys are on every week, it gets old really fast, and just the TV ate them up. So, and they're both for being pricks, essentially. So, not a good look. Not a good look at all. All right, guys, so we are officially out of time. Join us next time when we go back to Palatial, Los Angeles, California, for another ESPN TV taping. So just check out that.